People and portraits are some of the most common subjects for adult coloring pages. But adding those beautiful and realistic skin tones to all of those faces may seem a little daunting. This is why I teach an entire course on skin tone mastery in my academy called It's Easy to Draw. This is a fragment from that course. And speaking of coral, our 7th pencil is what I perceive as coral. So here I had multiple choices that are all very similar. Any one of these would have worked, but I found one called Saffron. That's actually spot on, exactly what I was looking for. Maybe use Bliss instead of Eggshell. Good idea. That would work. That would absolutely work. If I'm just doing to relax, it's cool. But if I'm looking for a specific set of colors, I just have them organized by basic colors. Also makes sense. And so far, I see that everyone's approach to color charts is completely different. Like some people do color charts so that they compare them with their friends. Some people do color charts just so that they can do, the beautiful color chart and put it on the wall. I'm never going to say don't do it. But I am going to be completely transparent with you guys about what works for me and what doesn't work for me. So when I talk down on color charts, keep in mind that that's specific to me. I just don't do them unless they're like this, unless it's narrowing down a specific problem. I love my saffron. Saffron is a beautiful color, such a beautiful color. I think it's from a skin tone set, but I'm not sure. Let's see. We'll be able to tell. Saffron and Sherbet, yes, both of them. Yeah, it's from a skin tone set. It had the little golden thing. Okay, so for me, this coral is what brings it all together for this particular peachy tone. And I'm also using the coral right now as a blender pencil. By now, you've seen enough of my coloring to see when I bring in pencils that act as blender pencils. And that usually happens around, when I already have several layers down and I already have a lot of gradient transitions. Then I bring in a slightly lighter or a mid-tone pencil and I use it as a blender. And here it gives her a little bit of that blush that we talked about. So for me, the coral pencil is one of those pencils that already has so much pigment combination in it. Like it pretty much is a peach color. So with this, I am very, very generous. But pay particular attention to how pale that makes her cheek look. Look at all the beautiful dark shadows that we added around the eyes, around the nose, under the chin. Don't neglect that area under the chin. It's always darker. But no matter how many layers we add, we're also constantly changing the contrast. So that's the tricky thing about contrast, is that it's adjusting as we are adjusting it. So our perception is changing as the piece is changing, and that's what's messing with your minds. That's why you're like, oh, this is too dark, and then you add the background and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is too pale. But even throughout the creation of the face itself, the contrast is changing on us. So already what I thought was high contrast 30 minutes ago is all of a sudden not high contrast at all. But this looks high contrast to me, and it almost looks too dark to me. It almost looks like her skin is actually much darker than the look that I'm going for. Stick with it. Somebody asked about teeth before the show started. Notice that I'm adding that coral to the teeth, not just gray. Yes, there will be shadows on the teeth. We do definitely want a little bit of gray on the teeth, but I actually add a lot of my skin tones to the teeth because teeth are highly reflective. And also because in this genre of realistic drawing, we don't want her teeth to stand out looking like they're made out of a radically different material, and we certainly don't want them to look snaggle-toothed. So be careful on the gray. I would rather use a grayish brown or a gray lavender for that shadow on the teeth, or French gray, but definitely not a straight up gray, and definitely no black unless it's like the dark part of her mouth or like the corners of her mouth. Great lavender is a safe bet for me. Yeah, me as well. I use great lavender quite a bit on that tooth shadow. But you notice, like, as I'm speaking, you can see that the lips are casting various shadows on my teeth, but depending on the angle, you're picking up on all sorts of colors in there. And the teeth, I mean, my lighting is horrific here because I have the the webcam laid directly on my face, so there's no variation of shadow on my face whatsoever. I'm just washed out. So my teeth are actually reflecting all the pure white light from the webcam. So it's not a very good example, but as I smile and I stretch out my lips, you can see a lot of gray in there, but it's not like inanimate or dead gray. It's somehow organic. There's a lot of play from my natural skin tones in that area as well. Eighth pencil, magenta. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, please take a second to give it the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more of this awesome content. And if you're really enjoying all this skin tone coloring info, swing by the Academy and watch some more free previews on this course and some others that I have up there. And consider taking the full Skin Tone Mastery course. In my experience, watching the success of all the students who have already completed it, it's life-changing. And this is pretty straightforward. I literally want magenta. And most of our pencil sets have it. I ended up going with Evil Red for magenta, even though I have an actual magenta pencil. And for me, this magenta is not so much part of the skin tone, but it's very specific to this model. For these models, notice that I don't actually even separate the teeth with the lines, because generally we don't notice that the lines between the teeth are so subtle. Like, again, if you look at my face, you don't really, as my mouth is moving quite dramatically now for the sake of demonstration, but as my mouth is moving, you don't really see individual teeth. You kind of just see this line of white, and that's usually how I draw teeth as well. So I encourage you not to draw out every single tooth unless it's an extreme close-up portrait and some of the teeth are nicely defined, but not on these girls. These girls just show a little bit of their pearly whites, and that's it. Treat them as any other white object with a shadow cast on it, but again, don't go crazy with inventing new colors. Just adding a little bit of the same skin tone for the shadow will do the trick. And we want to bring as little attention to the teeth as possible, so that all the attention stays on the lips and the rest of the composition. So for me, this magenta is strictly for makeup. You don't actually need it for the skin tone. As the skin tones get darker, it's going to get trickier and trickier to add makeup, because the same rule applies. Remember, we want to do the entire skin tone first and then add the makeup. This gets difficult if you want her makeup to be actually lighter than the skin tone, which is an option. So, you can even add glitter makeup. I know some of you are going to do that. Some of you are going to add glitter, and that's fine. But you should add that glitter after you've already established the skin tone. So consider what will actually be flattering as makeup to her. For me, I tend to go on more of a classical side with makeup. I treat eyeshadow as exactly what it was designed for, as eyeshadow. So for instance, me, I don't like makeup that's on myself personally as a human being. I don't like makeup that's lighter than my skin tone. I think it looks a little weird for someone who's as pale as I am. So I tend to go with purple tones for my eyes. Also, my eyes are green, so magenta and purple will bring out that green color of my eyes. So for me, it suits me well. Same here. Everything is in that kind of a peachy golden pinkish realm, so magenta makeup kind of works here for me on her. So I'm not going to tell you what to do and what not to do on the makeup. Experiment with it, play with it. Maybe she doesn't need makeup at all. But even if she's not wearing makeup, her lips should be slightly different in color than the rest of her skin. So that generally lends itself to being something a little bit on the pinkish side, a little bit on the reddish side. That's just what lips look like. So play it, by ear, by eye. 80s makeup rules. Yes, everything 80s rules. If you want to do this in 80s, it's going to be a little freaky because she's actually drawn like she's in the 20s. So actually glitter would work here. Gold would work here. There was a lot of gold makeup in the 20s. So if somebody can add gold to her, maybe actual gold effects like gold leaf or gold glitter. Or if, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, you're going through my metals course as well, then you can learn how to do golden effects without using gold pens and gold markers. So gold, I think, would look great for makeup. Black, also like black with glitter, I think would look great. Like when I think flapper, I think black and gold. So remember, this was just a tiny fragment of the entire course that covers 5 types of skin tones and allows you to build your own color charts for any skin tone out there. So if you found this video useful and interesting, do swing by the Academy and take the full course. And then you'll be unstoppable. You can add any skin tone to any coloring page out there. I'll see you in class.